Whenever I've done this before, this is the point where I always feel like I'm going to throw up. And tonight is no different. Sick with nerves.
Can I move my chair a little bit further this way? That would be a great way to start the show, wouldn't it? Cameras went, room for you went.
Good evening and welcome to Have I Got News for You? I'm Kirsty Young. In the news this week, amid persistent rumours that more BBC presenters are to be made redundant, Nick Robinson claims that he's not the least bit worried. After the world's worst alcoholic is sent into space on a last-ditch recovery programme, there are fears he may have smuggled some vodka on board. And while on holiday in Geneva, Ronnie Corbett's cousin inadvertently finds himself in the middle of a photo call for the G20 finance ministers. With Ian Hislop tonight is a political journalist and proud northeasterner who says he will do anything for his beloved Tyneside. Except live there, of course. Please welcome Kevin Maguire. And with Paul Merton tonight is a comedian who, in the course of a year, has become a father for the first time, done a season in the West End, and seen his family home in Australia burnt down in a bushfire. Blimey, the most excitement I had was when I thought I saw a fox in my bin. Please welcome the remarkably calm Ross Noble.
I really did that as a radio introduction. Yeah, that's great.
And gents, we start with the bigger stories of the week. Ian and Kevin, take a look at this.
It's autumn.
It's an open-air prison.
Is that where they're going? Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Northern Rock, a replay.
Thread the Shreds money.
God, Williams and Glynn's Bank, when did that close?
Oh, a horse has fallen off a sign.
This is the banks.
This indeed is the banks and the latest handout from us, the lucky taxpayers. Northern Rock is going to be split up. Do you know what the two parts are going to be called?
Northern
according to the Times?
And Rock.
That would seem to make sense, but no, apparently it's Good Bank and Bad Bank.
Oh, we'll all be we'll be queuing up for Bad Bank, won't we?
Is this government that's breaking up the banks and putting them into little bits, is it the same government that a year ago got Lloyds and HBOS to merge to form a big bank?
Yeah, but you're expecting consistency, Kevin. I don't know where you've been. Oh, the Mirror.
In the light of this further bailout, what's the government said that it's clamping down on?
Clamping down on banks lending to anyone. They don't want any of that. There used to be a lot of that in the old days, and they've stopped it completely. So nowadays, you own the bank, and you go in there and you say, can I borrow some of my money? And they say no. That's it. That's banking. It's terribly easy.
Apparently, if you're with Lloyds, you're allowed to have, like, a ride on the horse. Oh, yeah.
That's if you've got an overdraft, they stick you on the horse. No saddle, it just heads for the Yorkshire Moors.
They're actually splitting it up. Lloyds are going to be half bank, and then they're going to start, like, a dog food factory as well.
The good news is that some high street names of yesteryear are coming back.
Timothy White's.
No.
Oh.
What was that? Was that a chemist?
Yeah.
They used to make underpants, didn't they?
Yeah.
Timothy White.
Underpants and paracetamol.
Yeah.
The perfect combination,
exactly.
some
You
might
put
say.
them in water and they dissolve. Yeah. They tried doing swimming costumes for a while, but it was causing too much trouble down the local pool. It was fizzy on you downstairs, but after that... Apparently...
No reason for wearing them.
Indeed, yeah. Yeah, I've got Alka-Seltzer pants on now. I'm wearing a Barocca bra. The more sweat, the more fizzy it gets down there. So if we could just turn the lights up, that'd be nice.
Nice for you.
Well, yeah, not for you.
I'm sitting here in a fizzy aftermath.
More than 3,500 jobs are going to be axed at RBS, we've heard this week, but amidst the bad news, someone nearly did get a job this week. Do you know who that was?
Was it Tony Blair again?
It was again.
Oh, yeah, with Tesco's.
Yeah.
No, honestly, yeah, like he's out east somewhere. I'm not talking about Walthamstow.
Yeah.
Don't you worry, come around here, sort it out, sit behind the checkout, do all that, lovely. You'll fit right in, Tony. He's going to run the branch of Tesco's in, like, Beirut or something, wasn't he?
No, it wasn't. It was Gaza, wasn't it?
He was going to be the Tesco's envoy to the Middle East.
Brilliant.
He's brought peace to the Middle East, and now he's going to bring fish fingers.
The talks with Tesco broke down, this is according to the Telegraph. It's thought that the sum of money on offer was not a key issue, which doesn't sound like the Tony Blair I know. I don't know why.
In fact, the reason the talks broke down is because every time Tesco spoke, they had, like, a loudspeaker that just went, Tony, 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 Tony.
I think it was actually because Cherie was running around the store with a trolley.
There has also been good news with the government advisor, Sir Alan Sugar of Apprentice fame.
Business czar. He told everyone to stop moaning. He was asked about all the small companies who said they couldn't get any money out of the banks, and he said, oh, stop whinging. Anyone out there not getting a loan, just shut up.
He's a charmer, isn't he? He was being asked what his advice was in how to get the country and certain regions in it out of recession. That's what he said.
How does this region get out of recession?
Oh, shit. You know what I was going to say.
This is Britain's favourite charity, the banking system, and the latest handout from the taxpayer. Just to remind ourselves of the sort of people that we're helping out, investment bankers at Nomura this week were accused of sexism. One male banker is accused of alluding to a female colleague's breasts with the words, "Oh, you don't have your honkers out today, I see." Honkers. Now, there's a man who could do with a swift kick in the conkers. While the government propped up the banks, it wasn't quite such good news for the nation's paper boys, as one was sent an official redundancy notice by his employers this week. The 13-year-old boy's mother complained that the terminology used in the letter was not the sort of language a teenager would understand. The firm has now apologised and sent him a text saying, "Piss off, innit?" Paul and Ross, here's yours.
Up-to-date footage there.
Yes, scientists have made a mistake and they've turned the clock back to 1956. We've all got to live in 1950... There's a man with brain surgery followed by the Tiller girls, and then there's sort of more old computers.
A bloke's just he's drawn a bandaged testicle.
Yeah. Scientists have got too much time in their hands.
Yeah.
There was a ludicrous story about scientists somewhere in America who suggested that they have now invented a machine which allows us to see people's thoughts.
The film there was all about this topsy-turvy week of madcap science, which we're going to be moving on to, but particularly it started with
yes.
this
Has
apparently...
it been a topsy-turvy week of madcap science?
You will find out that it has.
Ooh, I'm intrigued.
And there was this thought-reading brain scanner.
Yes.
In layman's terms, can you explain a little bit more about how it works?
What happens is they put a piece of machinery on his head, which they basically adapted from a pair of headphones that cost $9.99 from Argos, and they've then made up a story about how they could read this man's thoughts in his brain, and they said, look, that's what he's looking at, and they showed it on a monitor, and then they sold it to the newspapers, and they're going to write a book, and it's all made up.
Yeah, and he actually did the Argos catalogue.
Yeah.
He was thinking, and it came up on the screen, Argos catalogue.
Yeah. So he ended up with a copy of the Argos catalogue, but with one mistake. The electric kettle was £2 cheaper than it should have been.
Well, it apparently works by using functional magnetic resonance imaging and reproduces patterns of activity in the patient's visual cortex.
Oh, yeah.
You got that?
Well, we've all done that, haven't we?
Yeah. The neurologist Jack Gallant, he's one of the inventors.
Yes.
He said it's pretty cool. At the moment when you see something and want to describe it to someone, you have to use words or draw it, and it doesn't work very well.
Although to be fair, that is going to help out Rolf Harris, isn't it? Because he's like, can you tell what it is yet? Can you tell what it is yet? Yes, Rolf, it's coming up on the screen. Put your pencils away and hop off.
Where's the real machine?
I don't think there is one.
Is it not real?
I don't think so. They thought you would make it funny, though, so we just...
Oh, I see.
Oh, really?
No, there is one. There is one. There is one. There is one. There is
I
one.
didn't get that note. Did you get that note? No. Make it funny. Should we get another go?
On the
Can you
subject
tell
of...
what we're thinking now?
On the subject of science, there was another discovery revealed this week
What was it?
in the Mail. Do you know?
Oh, it was my Barocca bra. Yeah. If it's in the mail, is it not those elasticated pants for the old people? Deter cats and fox the friendly way. The outline of the cat with the eyes that shine.
No.
Stop looking at me like I'm... Get that machine, put that on me, and you'll go, oh, that's what he's talking
No,
about.
it was... no, this was the fear detector the Mail reported on. The technology recognises a pheromone or scent signal produced in sweat when a person is scared. It is the invention of Professor Tong Tan. Now, what he did was people going on their first skydiving jump, he put sort of cotton pads under their armpits to collect their sweat.
Right.
He then recruited a whole bunch of other people and asked them to sniff these pads. And I know. How did he recruit those people to do that?
Is this bloke a doctor?
He calls himself a professor. I haven't seen the certification, but that's how he's known.
I could call myself a centaur, but, you know... I haven't got horse's legs under here. Or have I?
No, you haven't.
No.
So...
That's investigative journalism at its finest, isn't it?
So this fear detector, it could be used at airports to trap people who are in a heightened state of fear, people who are trying to smuggle drugs or terrorists or on the
Anyone
run.
that's flying on EasyJet.
Here's another
Or
good...
Ryanair. Am I going to have to pay for the toilet?
Yeah, use the outside one on Ryanair.
And one more big piece of science news. It really was in the news a lot this week regarding science.
The various degrees and dangers of illegal drugs, or legal drugs if you include alcohol and tobacco.
Yeah, it was the nutsack shock.
He got sacked.
Yeah, he got sacked by Alan Johnson.
He said that taking ecstasy was less dangerous than riding a horse.
Is it, Paul?
Well, according to statistics, it is.
But if you take ecstasy whilst riding a horse...
Give it to the horse and it does dressage. It's trying to walk straight with going...
I was going to say also a bad week for the Tories with regard to Professor Nutt. Do you know why that might be?
Is that because David Cameron, who had a normal university experience, as he put it, once backed reclassifying cannabis and ecstasy?
Yeah, 8
but
years...
now
yeah, that's
he
right.
doesn't.
He was on a Commons committee and he agreed with them about downgrading ecstasy and, indeed, the state provision of heroin.
That's a great idea, because, you know, pensioners, they need something to do. Imagine that, it'd be brilliant. Pension day, get your money, it's a bit of gear. Morning, Ethel. Morning. Lovely. Yeah.
This week, the sacking of the government's drug czar, Professor David Nutt, caused a rift in the cabinet. Science Minister Lord Drayson couldn't understand why Alan Johnson had done it and assumed he must have been off his honkers on crack.
Off his honkers?
Running gag. Well, it's limping a bit at the moment.
I thought honkers were women's breasts.
Yes, that's right. That's what we mentioned before, and so... That's...
Yeah, I know, but isn't he a man?
I had precisely this conversation in the script meeting. I'm glad you're supporting me.
Yeah, but...
I don't want me to be pedantic, but I mean, this is proper science we're talking about.
I thought you were going to say, there's a script meeting.
Well, this clearly isn't the result of a script meeting, what we're doing. Or is
No, it isn't. I'm sorry, I was early.
Yeah, sure. This is... Take it.
Yeah.
Well, this obviously isn't the result of a script meeting.
No, it isn't.
Is it not my line?
Yes, it's yours.
Yeah, sorry.
I'll do it again later when it gets a bit dull. Which will be any time now.
Is that the script there, is it?
That is my script, yes.
Oh.
I can't rely on natural wit, you see. Unlike you, I need a script, so that's...
I thought that woman in the front row just brought a telly with words on it. So she's a bit presumptuous, isn't she?
Got some jokes for you.
And so it's on to round 2, the one-armed bandit of news. Fingers on buzzers, teams. Here's the first one. Ian and Kevin.
Well, that looks like a European question to me. Germans in lederhosen, charming man in a beret, and the British bulldog in Red Cross gear.
How rubbish is he? He's a bullfighter, but he can only do bulldogs.
Yeah.
Is he just scared of full-size bulls?
I just go, can you do a bullfrog and I'll work my way up?
Well, the Treaty of Lisbon has been ratified, which is the big news of the week, and you can see the excitement.
Yeah,
but Brown was trying to make a point, wasn't he? He was saying how appalling it was that Cameron hadn't had a referendum. And then he'd forgotten that he didn't have one either. So they're both now equally useless. So that's it. Whoever you believe, you're disappointed. Equality of disillusion.
The Telegraph's letters pages have been busy this week. I believe that the ratification of this treaty absolves me of any obligation to obey any laws emanating from Brussels. I swear by Almighty God that I will do everything in my power to destroy this undemocratic, authoritarian, corrupt and incompetent superstate known as the European Union. Signed, Martin Armstrong, Tunbridge Wells. Kent.
Pretty good pseudonym, I thought.
Who's favourite to be EU president now?
Is it Mr Van Rompuy from Belgium?
Do you like Rumpy? And he's got lots of friends, the papers tell us, in the Dwarves gang. They're the Benelux countries that the Dwarves gang is known in Europe.
European dwarves. Sleazy. Bent. Hopeless.
Bent?
Nothing like a bent dwarf, I That was a hell of a night out. Go on.
Does anyone know anything else interesting about Mr. Rumpy?
Yes, he writes haiku.
He does.
Very short poems of 17 syllables.
Yes. Hair blows in the wind. After years, there is still wind. Sadly, no more hair. While we're with politics, there was some very good news for Mr. Cameron this week. He claimed #1 spot in the GQ magazine's list of the 100 most important men in Britain.
This week, they interviewed the Prime Minister. And you know who they got to interview him? Piers Morgan. I kid you not. Top political interview. You know what Brown said to Piers? He said, being Prime Minister was harder than I thought.
There was a new entry in this GQ list at number 67.
Ian.
Oh, surely not.
Surely. You'll be glad to know that you were one slot ahead of the Foreign Secretary.
But Ian, they've used for your head there, they've used the same picture with the baby on the Cowan Gate. Do you remember?
So this is the news that the Lisbon Treaty has now been ratified. For instant analysis, The Sun called a top EU analyst. Oh, sorry, a topless EU analyst. Becky, 25, from London, said, "It's a disgrace. I thought we were living in a democracy." And we are. A democracy where any girl is free to get her honkers out on page 3. Also this week, Gordon Brown gave an in-depth interview to GQ magazine in which the Prime Minister said, "I really dislike the trivialisation of politics." He also revealed, "I'm an X Factor fan and Peter Mandelson looks after Strictly Come Dancing." Right, fingers on buzzers, teams. Here is the next one. Ian and Kevin.
This is Boris Man, who rode to the rescue of a damsel in distress, who, it seems, was being terrorised by a gang.
I reckon he should be the new Batman. That'd be fantastic if somebody's getting attacked. Are you Batman? And just out of the car.
It's a terrific story.
If true. Yes, anyway.
Oh, the mirror's so grudging, isn't it? But he is, and the reason you know it's true, because the woman involved was a climate change campaigner and a maker of left-wing documentaries who said, I voted for Ken, but if you want to fight, Boris is your man. She was alone at night. These girls, one of them had a bar, and they pushed her up against a car, and then she cried out for help, and there was this cyclist. I mean, this is almost impossibly unlikely, isn't it?
Just before that, there was a little illuminated sign in the sky. It just had B written on it. And he immediately sprang into action.
As he
From
chased...
the Boris cave.
Yeah.
No, out he comes, out of the Boris cave, and with his blood-curdling cry, you know what he shouted? Clear off, you oiks!
And after he chased the oiks down the street, do you know what happened after that, according
He
to the
found a
Mail?
phone box and changed back into the Mail of London.
He came back and insisted
he walked
on
at home, didn't
walking the...
He doesn't miss a chance, does
No,
he?
he doesn't. This is the terrifying experience of a London woman who was rescued by Boris Johnson from a gang of girls. The woman explained how she called out for help to a passing cyclist, then thought to herself, oh my God, it's Boris Johnson. A phrase that's been uttered on this show on more than one occasion.
Who are you going to call? Boris Johnson.
Oik busters.
In other crime news...
That could be a Christmas single if we get together.
Yeah.
If we put that out before this show goes out, that could be the Christmas #1. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Possibly. Could there be a fine of endorsement? You were going to be in it, you're not now.
You were going to play Boris.
Yeah.
In other crime news, images of suspected football hooligans issued by police turned out to include actors from the football hooligan film The Firm. A spokesman for Scotland Yard apologised for the error, although he later turned out to be an actor from the bill. Scotland Yard said they'd regretted the mistake, but they still want to interview this man in connection with the theft of some gold bullion. Fingers on buzzers, teams. Paul and Ross.
50 years, M1. This week. Points, please.
Yeah, you're right. Shall we take a look at some footage from the
please.
motorways opening?
Would it be possible?
On this magnificent road, the speed which can easily be reached is so great that senses may be numbed and judgment warped.
Which the only way you get that now is to stop at the services and have some of their beans. Senses are warped.
Transport Minister Ernest Marples, who opened the M1, was also responsible for introducing yellow lines and parking meters, hence his nickname, Ernest the Bastard. I suddenly came over old Jeremy Clarkson there. I don't know what you call it.
Sorry, yeah, move on, just move on.
Shall we play a little M1 game?
Yes, let's.
Oh. Yeah.
Do we have to leave the studio?
It's very, very short. What comes next? Gateway, Toddington, Newport Pagnell, Rotherthorpe, and what?
Is it the North?
You soft southern git.
Watford Gap?
Yes, well, they all said it. Watford Gap, yeah, service
Pass it
stations.
on from them, they're the ones who get the points.
And what's special about Junction 3 of the M1?
It doesn't exist.
That's
except
right.
on the astral plane.
That's right, yes.
That's right.
Yeah. the first bit.
That's worth writing down.
Now, the Watford Gap has a new tourist attraction. Does anyone know what it is?
Is it a theme park based on stomach disorders?
It's not. A new signpost has been set up in the car park, one that reads north, the other south. Watford station manager Neil Byard explained people can have their picture taken beside it, like at Land's End. And he was then asked if they got many tourists at the Watford Gap, and he said, no. Someone else is celebrating an anniversary this week. It is, of course, Barack Obama. He was elected a year ago. Apparently, the honeymoon is over. Let's take a little look at this Democrat couple who are voting in the gubernatorial elections this week.
You're voting Republican?
Yes. And I'm a registered Democrat.
You're a registered Democrat?
Yes.
Sounds like you're pretty disillusioned.
Yes, I am.
His wife is sticking with the Democrats, but it's clearly causing tension.
And we're probably not going to be married much longer.
Fingers on buzzers, teams.
Stephen Fry got the hump, left Twitter. It's taken me so long to get on Twitter. Finally, this week, I went, right, I'll join Twitter. And like an hour later, Stephen Fry went, I'm over this. Bastard. It was, somebody accused him of being a bit boring. And he went, right, that's it, I'm not doing it anymore.
He replied directly to his critic immediately, who'd called his tweets boring, saying, whereas yours are so fascinating, I can barely contain my feelings. Now, who tweeted the following recently? I got caught shoplifting by the security guard in French Connection today.
Gene Hackman.
No, it was somebody calling himself Ian Hislop.
Oh, really? Well, there's the giveaway.
Another person claiming to be Ian Hislop tweeted, I am the real Ian Hislop. Anyone else claiming to be me twittering is, unsurprisingly, a fake. This should be my only tweet. Thank you.
That was me. I was trying to stop the other person who's pretending to be me, who's got millions of followers. More, apparently, than the Dalai Lama. I was told if I put a thing on saying, I'm not him, it would stop it, but it didn't.
How do we know this is you?
Yeah.
Anybody could come along here looking like Ian Hislop.
Yeah.
Talking all the usual stuff. Can you explain to me why people actually do this? Because this is the bit I've missed out.
The reason I do it is because if I didn't, I would just be shouting at people in the street.
But what have you now got that you didn't get before?
Well,
followers. He's got people looking on his... hanging on your every word. But you can do that anyway.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a High Court judge.
A fella tweeted me and he just went, I've wasted a week of my life here. And I had to stop myself because there was a picture of him and he was a bit fat. And I went, yeah, you should have been at the gym. I thought, I better not.
Could be your core audience there.
What, fat people?
Yeah.
Yeah. What, ones that can't leave the house to come to me gigs?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're the ones that buy the DVDs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm a fool to myself.
Exactly.
I should release a range of biscuits.
Yeah. You could have your little face embossed on every one.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Wouldn't it?
Ooh, or underneath, so when they lick the icing off them, there I am.
Oh, yes.
Haven't you got a stand-up act where you can put all this stuff?
Yeah, but I've finished my tour now.
Got nothing to do.
Yeah, got nothing to do. Yeah, and my wife isn't listening. She's like, all right, Ross, save it. Clearly talking shit again. All right, I'll tweet that,
It is time now for the odd one out round. Ian and Kevin, your four are Winston Churchill, Sun Meng, David Letterman and canoe man John Darwin.
David Letterman had an affair.
Had a number of affairs with women in a special room on the set of his show. There's one just behind Paul. And the canoe man, his wife built a special room to hide him in. Ooh. This man has got a special room on top of the air conditioning unit. I don't know anything about him. And did Churchill have a special room built into his house? Oh, the war cabinet. Yeah, he had a special... They've all got special rooms, apart from the one who hasn't got any trousers on.
You've got it right. They all have secret bedrooms, apart from the Chinese Lothario, Sun Meng. Do you know how Sun Meng ended up on top of an air conditioning unit on the outside of an apartment block?
Did the husband come in unexpectedly from work? Hello, darling.
Yes, that's exactly right.
He grabbed an enormous fig leaf, which he found in the hotel lobby, and then out he went and onto the air conditioning unit.
Son told the Sun what most concerned him. Do you know what he said?
You've got the same name as me.
No, he said, people are even laughing at how I look naked, but I must point out it was a very cold day.
And to be fair, what's standing on an air conditioning unit?
Yeah, and he does have a very small penis as well. I think that's important.
Oh, really?
Well, the leaf isn't very big, I'm thinking. Right, yes.
What do you mean? We're not big. Look at the size of it. It's enormous.
You've been spoiled. You've been spoiled, you have.
You're probably standing under there going, just wait till autumn.
And canoeman John Darwin recently wrote a memoir. He describes his last hours with his wife Anne before he disappeared. We made love with the passion and intensity of two condemned people, each striving to satisfy the other's needs and succeeding. Oh, there's more, don't worry. Exhausted, our hot bodies touching all along the full length to extract the last morsel of our lovemaking. I wondered if we'd ever be normal again. Would you like to see them?
No. Oh,
Then did you? Right, love, I'm off in my canoe.
good luck in the Alistair Darling lookalike competition.
Paul and Ross, here are yours. They are Andre Agassi, Mark Oaten, Bob Ainsworth MP and Sampson.
This must have something to do with hair.
Agassi, this week, he said he wore a wig. That was a wig there. Which, why would you pick that? People say that to me sometimes. They go, is that a wig? You just go, would I walk into a shop and go, can I have the one there that looks a cross between Cher and a tramp?
Mark Oaten, he said the reason why he sort of had a couple of relationships with rent boys was he was going bald and it was affecting his confidence.
Yeah.
So he sort of thought, well, the only way to raise my confidence and my self-esteem back is to go with a bin boy... A bin boy?
At least he tidies up afterwards.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, Bob Ainsworth, he's the odd one out because his hair loss is down to him.
You're almost there. They've all blamed their lack of hair for something, apart from Bob Ainsworth, who blames his moustache for his unpopularity. He didn't actually shave it off. The papers don't like it much. The Mail asked, is it a small rectangle of Velcro? And the Times said, it is the most interesting thing about it. On to Andre Agassi then. He says he lost the French Open in 1990 because he was worried about his hair.
But he said he and his brother stayed up all night putting that thing on.
Yeah.
And it had 20 clips in it.
Well, they should have put the light on and it might have been a better job.
Oaten has recently released an autobiography. Do you know how he deals with what was a huge scandal at the time in his book?
Briefly?
Yes, 12 words.
12 words.
12
I lost
words.
my hair and I went with a rent boy. Poor me.
He could tweet that.
That's 12 words.
Yeah.
Doesn't deserve a cause.
I like that noise very
tell
much,
you
because
what.
one person here thought that was impressive, and sort of then thought, well, actually, it's not.
They've all used their lack of hair as an excuse for something, apart from Bob Ainsworth MP, who has a moustache. Trying to explain why people took against him, Bob Ainsworth said, I speak with a Midlands accent, I drop my H's, I suffer with an asthmatic-related condition, which gives me a gravelly voice, and I have a moustache. Bob, you had me at Midlands accent. It's time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features as its guest publication, The Pencil Collector. So it's delivered in a package marked hardcore pornography, so as the postman won't think you're weird. And we start with, you can't what? That's dangerous.
Shove a pencil up your arse. Saves on a stationery holder.
Makes it more difficult to write these little notes, though, doesn't it?
Well, it depends how good your knees are. Wear a coat of carrots and provocatively dance in front of a donkey. Rub a pig on a cheese grater.
Pork scratchings. That's where rehearsal pays off.
It is.
Ding, ding, ding.
You can't buy 2 lemons at once. That's dangerous. This was an elderly shopper in Aberdeen who was told he wasn't allowed to buy more than 1 lemon at a time from a branch of Asda for health and safety reasons. A spokesman denied there was a ban, saying that people can buy as many pieces of fruit as they like, which, given it was Scotland, is probably none, actually. Next, what an early form of speed dating?
Vikings raping and pillaging.
Is it even song? Pencil swapping.
Trading pencils, an early form of speed dating. Next, you won't want to miss what at 2009 Pencil Convention?
The do-it-yourself suicide booth. You won't want to miss all the bloody pencils. 2009 Pencil Convention.
You won't want to miss pencil-related entertainment. Next, she's what, but I love her.
A lady boy.
She's an Aberdeen Angus, but I love her.
Is it Harriet Harman?
She's big-boned and 150 million years old, but I love her. This is the fossil of a giant pliosaur that has turned up in Dorset. Paleontologists...
He's just turned up, so hello. Room for the night.
Paleontologist Richard Forrest told the BBC, just to hold the skull was jaw-dropping. Before adding, sorry, that was heavier than I thought it was going to be. So, the final scores are... Paul and Ross have 6, Ian and Kevin have 7. So, before we go, there's just time for the caption competition.
Peter Mandelson relaxes on holiday.
Chameleon says, I just can't do blue. I don't know what it is, I just can't do blue.
And I leave you with news that at a pub in Norfolk, a drinker's cry of "one for the road" proves sadly prophetic, as minutes later, that's where they find his body. There's another setback for world peace after fears that Romford may have acquired nuclear weapons. And at Balmoral, a party gets out of hand when a high-spirited Camilla playfully throws her knickers at Prince Charles. Good night.
Stressed out by the party conference speech, Nicola's in the thick of it, next on BBC Two.
Yeah, this was slightly...
I love you, but don't tell the others.
I'll do a little quick redo.
Go on, give us a kiss. Nobody's looking. I'd love to be on a desert island with you, Kirsty.